There were 3 additional flying carpet mounts in the Wrath of the Lich King beta that never made it to live for some reason. The first 2, Swift Ebonweed Carpet and the Swift Spellfire Carpet, seem to suggest that there were going to be different flying mounts to make for tailoring based on the different kinds of cloth you could make. It should be noted that these 2 mounts are different colors from any other flying mounts in the game. They're not completely unique models, just recolors of existing mounts. I can guess as to why they were scrapped, since no official word was ever made. If tailors got these mounts in addition to the ones that did make it in-game, they would basically force mount collectors at the time to roll tailoring if they wanted more mounts than everyone else. Or maybe they just didn't want one profession to have so many different kinds of mounts to make while others only got one or none. Many different reasons Blizzard could have scrapped them. As for why they scrapped the 3rd one, well, I have no idea. It's just called Swift Flying Carpet, and doesn't have a model or picture for it. I can assume it just had another different color and just used the same model as all the other flying carpets. It is interesting to note that this mount doesn't actually have a riding skill required to use, only a tailoring and level requirement. I'm pretty sure it's just because that mount was scrapped, but you never know. It could have been planned to be an unskilled mount, like the current heirloom motorcycle is. Whatever the case, tailoring already has 4 flying mounts, all the same model just with different colors. I doubt tailors are too mad they didn't get 3 additional different colors of the same mount. Next up, we've got the Brewfest Cotto. This Kodo was most likely supposed to be the Horde version of the Brewfest Ram, a mount that you could only get during Brewfest as Alliance. But then they decided to revamp Brewfest and added epic versions of the Ram and Kodo to the Brewfest boss. And both Alliance and Horde can use either. One of the few ways for Alliance to ride Kodos, and Horde Rams. Funny enough, even though the regular Brewfest Cotto was never put in the game, its flavor text was updated in Warlords to say, "You can't remember exactly how you got this mount. Then again, you can't remember much of anything that happens at Brewfest." Not sure why Blizzard decided to add flavor text to a mount never implemented. Maybe it'll come out in the future, or maybe an intern just had fun with it. Who knows? In Warlords of Draenor, new mammoth model mounts were added to the game, but never implemented. The mounts also don't have any animations, they just stay there static, indicating that they were probably scrapped early on in development, but they still show up in game files for whatever reason. It's theorized they were probably the Warlords of Draenor repair mammoth mounts, like how Mist of Pandaria had the Reforge Yak, since we never actually got a new repair mount after Mist, not even in Legion. It'd be nice if they had a mount with like a banker on it, or maybe even an auction house. That'd be a pretty cool mount. They should really add more mounts like that in the future. In the Mist of Pandaria beta, there were 4 other colors of the Water Strider mounts, the Jade, Orange, Crimson, and Golden Water Striders, and were most likely going to be rep rewards from the anglers. But instead, they just went with the 1 Water Strider and left the other 4 out of the game. Until Warlords, that is, when they put the Crimson Water Strider back into the game as a purchase from Nat Pagel. So the other 3 colors of the Water Striders could be implemented in the future as well, which would be great, seeing as how the Water Strider is probably the most convenient mount to have in the game. And the 2 that are available have a high barrier to buy, with hours of fishing involved or weeks of daily quests. Again, more mounts that appeared in beta myths that never went live. This time we've got riding cranes. There are 3 different color variations that didn't make it, while all the others did. Noticing a pattern here? Blizzard just loves putting a whole bunch of different color mounts in the game and only allowing you to get a handful of them. Of the 3 riding cranes never actually added, the white albino crane did make a brief appearance on the Warlords of Draenor Alpha, meaning that Blizzard was thinking of adding some of their already in the game file mounts available, like they did with the Crimson Water Strider, but changed their minds. Honestly, I don't really think it's a big deal that these crane mounts were put in. They aren't super useful like the Water Striders are, and are just different colors of mounts already in the game, so it's not like we're losing a super unique model with them not included. After all, they can't always just tack one of these mounts on to the end of some random achievement in the future, like they did with the unreleased Heavenly Cloud Serpent mounts. There were 3 unused models for Cloud Serpent mounts in Mist Beta that weren't added at launch. The golden cloud serpent was later added towards the end of Mists as a vendor item from the Timeless Isle. The azure cloud serpent was added in Warlords of Draenor patch 6.2 as an achievement for collecting 300 mounts. And the jade cloud serpent, the one that looks exactly like Yulon, the August Celestial, and is probably the coolest of all the cloud mounts, is still not in the game yet, despite being in the game file since beta Mists, and having its own flavor text and everything. The other two mounts were added eventually, so maybe the Jade Serpent will be added sometime in the future as well. But, and this is just speculation on my part, the Jade Serpent might not be added to the game for lore reasons, precisely because it looks so much like Yulon. I mean, if they gave us Yulon, then they'd have to give us other Wild God mounts. It'd be so cool to ride around on mounts of Malorn or Sonaris. Now onto some non-recolored Mist mounts. The Stormcrow mount was added to the game file sometime in Mists, but no one has it yet. It's actually still a pretty big mystery on what happened with this mount. It's in the game, but no one knows how to actually get it. Or it might not be in the game and just in the game files like the other mounts in this video. It's a mystery mount though, that's for sure. There is a battle pet in the game with the same model of this mount called Stormwing that is only obtainable by collecting 600 unique pets, which is a decently tough achievement to grind out. So maybe the mount can be tied to some hard to get hidden achievement. Or maybe it's a reward for some kind of hidden pet battle feat. Who knows, I'm just guessing wildly. Blizzard has said that there are still hidden things in the game that players haven't found yet. So it's possible this mount could be one of those things. Next up on this list, we've got Foro's Fabled Steed. This mount was added to the game files in patch 1.6 with the release of Blackwing Lair. It used to be stated as an item that would summon a bronze drake to ride, and even had the flavor text of, "You wish," which was later changed to an unusable legendary item and its flavor text was removed. It was also the first mount in game files to say that it was a flying mount, before flying mounts were actually added later on in the Burning Crusade. There are some theories about this mount. One being that it was just a tease to data miners with the "you wish" flavor text meaning, "you wish we add this item to the game," or something similar. Another theory is that it's actually just the mount that War Chief Ren Blackhand uses when he flies into the fight. Although I don't know why Blackhand would need to use an item to mount up. And the mount he uses is a different color than the mount that this item is supposed to summon anyway. But I mean, you never know. Blizzard did use all kinds of weird tricks in vanilla to make things work. Did you know that for some quests that didn't require killing mobs or interacting with objects, like listening to a short story or just going through dialogue options, the game would kill an invisible rabbit to signify that you completed the quest, since quests were hardwired to only be completed by the two methods I mentioned previously. Or how Onyxia was programmed to fight invisible rabbits and not actual players, to give the illusion of fighting actual players. So Rend could have used this item, like, in the background to give the illusion of riding a real mount or something. But I doubt it, honestly. Next up, we've got Peeps Wistle, another legendary mount. This mount is literally just Ashes of Olar, the Phoenix mount that drops in Tempest Keep. Someone did ask a GM about this item though and got a response. I understand why you're confused. Basically, you've fallen prey to one of the worst pitfalls of WoW fan sites like Wowhead: PTR data mining. You see, during the development cycle of an expansion or patch, items come and go and the developers change their minds more than once. Frostmourne was once going to be a regular item. You can see the unfinished playable version it in Wowhead, and so was Ashbringer. Eventually, the developers decided against both ideas. Peeps Wistle is one of those ideas that was discarded before it got to the game. He was transformed into the Ashes of Alar we all know and love. It's not a Phoenix's Phoenix, nor a GM mount, not any other rumors you may hear. So it's pretty straightforward why this mount was never added. In Alpha WoW, there were quite a few large cat mounts that were never added to Live WoW. Most of these mounts were just bigger versions of cat models in the game with harnesses added to them. And there were quite a few of these mounts too, but none of them made it to the game. But there were rumors and myths surrounding a few of them in early WoW, and some players were even given some of these cat mounts by mistake in the Burning Crusade from GMs. before having them taken away after bragging about having them on the forums. But there was one really big rumor about the Bengal Tiger mount that was pretty popular at the time. The Bengal Tiger mount rumor basically stated that you could get the mount in game by doing some wall hopping in the Stranglethorn Vale to get to a hidden cave, where a female vendor would sell you the mount. Many people did the wall jumping required to get to this cave, but it was always empty. There were rumors that the vendor was on a 1-month respawn timer, or that only one person per realm could buy from it, similar to how the AQ mount worked, but no one ever saw her because she never existed. The rumor was most likely just a troll, supported with screenshots of the mount from Alpha WoW or private servers. But just like the Ashbringer rumors, it never went anywhere. But, just like the Ashbringer rumors, Blizzard did put a nod to the rumors in-game eventually. With the revamp of Old Zones, Blizzard added a quest to the game that eventually sends you to this cave, and you get a cat pet as reward. Not exactly a mount, but close enough. Another thing of note about the Bengal Tiger mount, if you look at which races can use it, it includes all the vanilla races except Taurens. This really shows just how early on in Alpha the mount was scrapped, since back then, Taurens were going to be given an ability to run as fast as mounts rather than be given any actual mounts to ride. But Blizzard eventually decided to scrap that idea, and gave Taurens the ability to ride mounts. But not before they scrapped the cat mounts though, apparently. And to round off this video, we've got slightly different color Mikado Strider mounts. There are 3 different colors that aren't in the game, but one of them was in the game for a while, and was the rarest mount in the game for quite some time. Out of the 3 mounts, the fluorescent green Mikado Strider was given to a player by mistake, but the player was allowed to keep the mount. When GMs give you unobtainable items by mistake, they usually just take them back, like the Martin Fury shirt or the cat mounts I talked about in the previous post. But it seems pretty recently the mount was finally taken away from the player. No one really knows why it was taken, but it no longer shows up in the player's armory like it used to in the past. There are rumors as to why it was taken away, like that the guy who owned the mount tried to sell his account with the tagline that he had one of the most rarest mounts in the game on his account, and therefore would get a lot of money for it. But anyone can post a fake posting of someone else's account, and there isn't any real evidence that this actually happened, even though I looked extensively for it, so I wouldn't take the rumor too seriously, even if it is a pretty popular rumor. And that's it for the video. There are a couple of other different colors of mounts that are in the game files that were never added for various reasons, but I think I talked enough about slightly different colored mounts in this video already.